Joe, first of all, thank you for coming to talk to us. How does it feel to have made 100 appearances for Pompey?
Yeah, a really proud moment. It's a club that I'm really, really proud to play for, and obviously I hope that comes across on the pitch. I think 100 appearances is obviously a good achievement. It's something that I targeted when signing for my next club, off the back of leaving Luton where I didn't play so much. I think it was important that the next club I played for, I was able to play as many games as I could, and obviously over 2.5 years I've been here to get 100 games is something I'm proud of. Ultimately I'd trade all of them for a few in the Championship, which is obviously the ambition. But yeah, of course, proud to play 100 games and hopefully there's many more to come.
You slightly touched on it there, but when you first signed, you said you wanted to come somewhere and make it home. Is it safe to say that's the case here?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, then it was obviously at the time, it was a club that I wanted to sign for. Obviously I had a few options when I signed here, but it was something that as soon as I knew of the interest, and it was always a club that I saw myself playing for. To play in front of such a passionate support base, which is what we've got, is something that really excited me and has lived up to my expectations. And so yeah, I think I've definitely found a home in football. I've been here 2.5 years now. I've loved playing for the club. I've loved living here. And I've got plenty of time left here. So hopefully enjoy it as much as possible, but to achieve what I came here to do, which was to help this club get promoted and put it back into the second tier at least of English football.
100 appearances into your third season. Which games have stood out for you the most?
I've said quite a few times that obviously I've been here 2.5 years, and at least up until this season haven't had too many massively high moments, and I think that's been the exciting thing for me, is that I've been here 2.5 years, but I think the previous 2 seasons haven't been the best from a team perspective. And the fans and everyone has still been really good, and I've still loved playing here. So it just makes me think, how good it can be if we do achieve something. But even in those previous 2 seasons, there's still been high games. I think of the Sunderland 4-0, when it probably should have been called off that day, but that was still obviously an enjoyable one to play in. And I think most home games, we've had some great nights, especially under the lights. So you look back to Bolton last year was definitely a high point. I've really enjoyed Derby away and obviously drawing the game, but I think just showcased what a great football club it is in terms of our travelling support. And then obviously there's been plenty this year, but I think ultimately we know we haven't achieved anything yet. We've put ourselves in a good position to do that, but ultimately if you ask me that question this time next year, I'll have hopefully one key one that sticks out.
On to this season, how would you assess it up to this stage?
Well, yeah, I think it's been good. It's obviously been a good start, and we've put ourselves in a good position to achieve something this year. But we're certainly not getting carried away. We know that as of yet we haven't achieved anything. We've obviously had a lot of high moments, and obviously some few more difficult ones a bit more recently. But I think it's been the best squad of my career, really, that I've enjoyed the most being a part of. We've got some great personalities in the squad, and I think it's just a squad that coming in every day. You're really excited to come in and see the lads, and I think that's come across on the pitch this year. I think in terms of not just in terms of ability, but in terms of personality, mentality, I think it's certainly the best squad we've had since I've been here, and I think that's shown on the pitch.
It's obviously not something we want to dwell on and focus on too much, but more recently we obviously went through that patch of 3 games without a win. How did you, as a dressing room, react to that? I asked Paddy the same the other day, and I'm guessing it was the message along the lines of there's no need to panic. Yeah,
I think it wasn't too difficult. I think the challenge is when you're in a successful team is never to get too high. I think that's what we've done really well this year. I think we obviously want supporters and everybody to be really excited, and obviously I think that's come across in the stands this season, which is absolutely what we want. I think in the dressing room, and it hasn't been too difficult to manage, I don't think, but in the dressing room we've never really got too high. We've never thought we're the best team in the world, and I think that makes it easier when you go through a few tough patches and a few tough games, which obviously we had recently. That then makes it easier to not be too hard on yourself and understand that we're a good team, and we'll get back to being a really good team, which I think you probably saw on Saturday. But we've got a fantastic set of lads in terms of personality. Never getting too high, never getting too low, and I think that's obviously the reason that we put in a good performance on Saturday and hopefully go on another good run now, which obviously we had previously in the season.
Yeah, how good was it to start 2024 off the right way, and how good was it to get back to winning ways?
Yeah, I think it was obviously important. I think when you haven't won in 3 games for the standards that we've set as a team this year, obviously in terms of results, but I think in terms of performance, we'd probably fallen below where we wanted to be in the standards that we've set in the previous 3 games. So it was just about getting back to that and making sure that we control the performance and letting the result take care of itself, which is something that has always been our mentality this year, and obviously the management are really big on that as well. So it was just about controlling the performance, and I think as soon as that game finished at Exeter, we know we probably fell below our standards a little bit and probably didn't deserve the result. We were itching to get to Stevenage on Saturday, and I think you saw a team that fought for every ball on Saturday and played with some good quality as well, which we know we've got.
It was Monday, but I'll let you get away with it.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I know, the days are all over the place at the minute.
It was 2 contrasting halves though on Monday, but how crucial is it to have both of those sides to your game?
I think any successful team can win games in different ways. I think you've seen that this season. We've had games which we've completely dominated the ball and taken our chances and been ruthless. You look at Shrewsbury, Northampton, games earlier in the season where we've just dominated in possession and territory. And you've had games where we've had to scrap a little bit and have been a bit more scrappy, and we've found last minute winners or moments of quality or even a little bit of luck along the way. And I think you probably saw that, I think Monday, was a bit of a microcosm of that. We played really well in the first half, had lots of control with the ball, and second half had to battle and scrap and fight for every ball, which is what we did, and defend our box really well. And so ultimately, that's what led us to getting the result on Monday.
What does it say about you as a group of players being able to come out the other side of that patch, and also looking back to the reaction of the Blackpool game as well?
Yeah, I think obviously touching on winning games in different ways, it's also the mark of a good team when you respond to adversity really well, and I think it was something we were all stressing earlier on in the season. When we were on that really good run, you almost feel invincible, but I think there's a lot of us in this change room now and obviously the manager as well, who've been in football long enough to know that it's not going to last all season. And so we were ready to react when we lost a game or had a setback, which was obviously the case at Blackpool, and then over the last couple of weeks, over the festive period. But I think it just comes down to having really good people in the building, which is what we've got, both in terms of staff and players. And yeah, I think everybody's been on the same page this year. I think the mark of our group this year, I think for me, is the lads who haven't played so much. And you come in on a Monday and you're disappointed that you haven't played. Maybe the lads have won, and sometimes you feel a bit left out or whatever. I've been there in previous seasons at different clubs and whatever, and I think for those lads to have applied themselves the way they have, come in on a Monday and train the balls off, and I think that's been the mark of our group this year. There's been lads who've played games in the single digits, or could be disappointed with how many minutes they've played, but have still come in and given absolutely everything, and kept those standards high in training and on and off the pitch, and I think that sums up our group this year. How much do games like that as well show how much of a part the fans can play as well? Yeah, I think it's our USP. I think I've said that all along. Ever since I've been here, I've not seen a football club, that we've played certainly, or up and down the country, who the supporters can have such an effect on the team. And we know that Fratton Park is unique, especially. And we go up and down the country, and it never feels like we have an away game really. And that's something that there'll be teams up and down the land who can spend millions of pounds on top players and pay them thousands a week, but it's something that money can't buy what we've got. And we've obviously given them stuff to shout about this year, but even in the bad times or a bit of adversity, they've stuck with us. And I think, I hope that comes down to them relating to us on the pitch and having a team that they can be proud of. And I think that's what we've tried to do this season, and hopefully that's been the case. You played alongside Marlon this season. You played alongside Marlon last season as well. But how much have you enjoyed in experiencing playing alongside Robbo as well? Yeah, it's obviously been really good. Robbo's a top player. He'll go on to have a top career. I've got no doubt about that. Not just because of his technical ability, but because of his attitude and his mentality, which has been top this season. A really good lad who I've been Yeah, it's easy to play alongside Robbo. It's not too difficult. You try and win the ball back and give it to him and let him get on with it a lot of the time. But I mean, I've played obviously with a lot of different midfield partners over my career, and you have to try and change a little bit your game depending on who you're playing with, of course. So that was maybe the case with Robbo when Marlon was out injured, to let him have a little bit more license to get forward and to try and just be there to support him. And obviously Robbo's, I think he's played like an experienced player this year, so he hasn't needed too much help and guidance in that. You know, he doesn't need anyone to hold his hand, and he certainly doesn't need me to tell him how to pass a ball or score a goal or whatever. So it's been a privilege to play alongside him, and yeah, really looking forward to the rest of the season, that being the case.
It's coming up to a year since the Gaffer joined the club. How much have you enjoyed working with him? Yeah,
loads. Yeah, obviously came in at a really difficult time for everyone, I think. You know, it was obviously, we'd come off the back, we hadn't won in a couple of months, and it was a difficult place to be at that time. And obviously the Gaffer previously having never have coached a team or managed a team, he didn't really know what to expect, but I think pretty quickly we found out what he's about and what his coaching staff are about. And obviously ended last season pretty strongly, and then obviously over the summer the club's got the recruitment spot on, which is not a surprise to us because we know how good they are at their jobs. And then this year you've obviously seen a team that the Gaffer's really had time to work with. I think obviously pre-season was a big part in that, and you've seen a team that is obviously that he wants on the pitch, and he's been able to mould in regard to, you know, a style of play that I think the supporters can enjoy watching, but also is successful on the pitch, and I think that's a good combination.
How do things compare to this time last year? What's changed, and what have been the most important things that have changed for you?
I think it is difficult in football because you can go through runs like that and you forget what it's like to win. And I remember going to Bolton a couple of times in a week, and honestly one of the lowest points of my career. You know, you're travelling, you know, fans are travelling up and down the country to watch you on the pitch, and the product that you're producing is nowhere near the standards, especially at this football club. And I think the club in general has come on a lot. I think the training grounds had a lot of improvements. I think infrastructure, staff, everything, and that is obviously more conducive to a successful end product on the pitch, which is obviously what everyone else sees. But I think obviously the stuff off the field that the supporters and the people watching the games won't see. I think the club have put a lot of effort, and the owners have got to be thanked for that in terms of improving the training ground. We've had conversations this year in terms of, you know, improving the environment off the pitch, which obviously then leads to or gives you a better chance of a better performance on the pitch.
Speaking of the Gaffer, he's given you the armband on a few occasions. How much of an honour has that been to wear that?
Yeah, a really proud moment. I think hopefully if you speak to anybody, they'd probably say that I wasn't any different before, during or after having the armband. And it was never a case of me needing to do anything extra. I think Marlon will probably tell you the same now. He doesn't have to completely control the dressing room. I think it is, obviously it needs a bit of managing, but it's a fantastic dressing room with great lads who all want to achieve the same thing. Obviously they all want to get better individually, but we're all here for the same reason. And so I think it wasn't too difficult, because we've got a good group of senior players, but also, like I alluded to with Robbo, you know, even our younger lads, more inexperienced lads, have been amazing to work with this year, and have obviously produced on the pitch as well. So a proud moment to wear the armband. You know, I knew I was just keeping it warm for Marlon because obviously he's club captain and one of the best I've worked with in terms of the role that he does. But yeah, I'd like to think that I wasn't too different to how I am now or how I was before.
You've touched on it multiple times during this interview about the team spirit, the mood in the dressing room at the moment. Why do you think that has such a positive contribution to what happens on the pitch?
Well, I think, as in any job, I think if you're happy and you feel valued, then you're going to produce better work. And I think that's been the case this year. I think, you know, I know a couple of lads have spoken about it before, but we'll go for a coffee after training or go for dinner. And I think in probably every team I've ever been in, there's been different groups of players who've got on better with each other. But I think if a supporter or anybody came in this building today, they wouldn't see any groups, any cliques. And I think that is something that's really special and something that I think has been pretty organic, but I think has obviously been made easier by bringing good people into the building. And I think in recruitment, that's probably the hardest thing to do. But yeah, like I said, it's not a massive surprise because we know how good Richard's at his job and the gaffer. So yeah, I think it's been made easy by just having good people here.
Pompey aside, on the pitch aside, how are things away from football for you at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I can't complain. It's probably been the happiest I've been off the pitch. I love living down here. I think anyone would tell you the same. It's somewhere that I can see myself living after football probably, and living close to the sea and waking up and walking the dog on the beach is a privilege to live here, and it's a privilege to play for this club. So, I'm somebody who does find it hard to switch off sometimes. I think, especially being a footballer, is not like maybe some other jobs where you can go home and switch off and turn up at 9 o'clock the next day and focus on your job. I think it's a 24/7 job. So first and foremost, you have to make sure that you're living right and making sure that you're best prepared to perform. But yeah, like I said, there's definitely worse places to live than the South Coast, and I've loved living here, loved playing here, and hopefully for a few more years.
Playoffs with Wales in March coming up. You'll obviously have full focus on Portsmouth for now, but I'm guessing they're somewhere in the back of your mind.
Yeah, I think it's, I try my best to park those things until they come around. I think I try not to waste too much energy thinking about things that I can't control in the moment, and that obviously comes into that category. I think obviously we've got Finland at home, which is a game that, if you're going to play at Euros, you should expect to win, and then hopefully Poland or Estonia after that at home. So, I've been lucky enough to be involved in a lot of great nights playing for Wales, especially in Cardiff. And I've played in 2 major tournaments now, and I didn't plan on the World Cup being my last one. So hopefully we can do the job in March, and hopefully I've got a promotion this season. That's the plan, and then hopefully Euros after that.
Just finally, we've got the matter of Cheltenham away this weekend. How much are you and the lads looking forward to getting back out there?
Yeah, I think we'll approach it as we have every other game this year. We'll take them extremely seriously. We'll obviously be aware of their threats, but as always, try and impose ourselves on them. They've obviously had a good run, really experienced manager at this level. A club I used to play for as well, so I do enjoy going back there. But we know it's a different Cheltenham from the one that we saw earlier in the season. And they obviously got a good result that day, so it's up to us to put it right on Saturday.